Hello everybody, welcome to our webinar today on TORFL, Test of Russian as a Foreign Language, for A1, A2 and B1 levels. We are focusing today on writing and speaking subtests, and this is our fourth webinar in the series of 10. They're scheduled for April and May. Each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Moscow time. Today, well, it's an uneven webinar, I may call it. And my name is Oleg Krinitsky, and I work for Testing Language Center in St. Petersburg State University as a specialist in testing Russian as a foreign language. Okay, let's get started. Can you hear me well? Friends, dear colleagues, can you hear me well? Yeah, very good, thank you. Well, so let's get started and have a look at what we're going to do today. I'll give you an overview of writing and speaking test formats for all these levels, and we'll look in detail at the tasks in these sections. Unfortunately, we're not going to have practice today, well, because you can understand that it takes a lot of time to do these things. I'll just inform you about task types and many different things. And, well, we'll focus today on assessment. How is your writing and speaking assessed? That's important, I think, what to expect from your writing and speaking, how it should be. Well, and we'll give some practical ideas to use on your own for self-study. And of course, in the end, I'll provide you with a number of resources to start getting ready for your exams. Okay, as usual, for the people who are here for the first time, well, but I'm doubting, no, there are people who are here for the first time. You might know that the Language Testing Center at St. Petersburg University was founded in August 1997 on the 22nd. And we have a lot of centers abroad in Greece, Germany, Turkey, Serbia, Poland, Argentina, even Brazil. Well, in all 80 testing centers abroad, quite a lot of. And our internationally recognized certificate is issued within 3 weeks. Our tests are regularly updated, and we are partner of Association of Language Testers of Europe, ALTE. You might probably know this organization. It's quite famous in testing and assessment and teaching foreign languages. So now let's have a look at this. This is how the certificate looks like. Well, nothing special, really. We'll probably have to think about a new design for this certificate, but it depends on the state regulations, so who knows. And you see, you have successfully passed the test if your score for each subtest is more or equal 66%. And if your score is 60 for one subtest, but the rest of subtests are 66% or more, that's possible to get the certificate in this case. And it's possible to retake 1 or 2 subtests, of course. Next, today we are focusing on 3 levels: elementary, basic, and the first level examination. They all correspond with Common European Framework of Reference, CFR. And look at this brief descriptions of levels. They're grouped in 3. You see, elementary for A1 and A2, they're sometimes called survival level and the pre-threshold level. Then independent use of language, B1, threshold level, and B2, independent user, and professional level. It's divided by 2 levels, sub-levels, C1 for advanced students or candidates, and C2 proficiency. We call it in English, of course, yeah, in Russian it's different. Next, let's compare the hours you need to pass these levels. Look, to take an exam, to take a test at A1 level, you need 100 and 120 hours. Then at A2, you need about 200 hours from A1 level, and at B1, well, about 200 hours from A2 level. In all, it will be about 500 hours, academic hours, for all these 3 levels, which we've grouped together today. Quite a lot of time, and when a candidate comes to the exam and says he's only or she's only been studying Russian for 2 months and he's taking B1 level exam, well, miracles can happen, yeah, but normally not. The testing specialists understand that it's not enough, not enough at all, yeah. 2 months of studying Russian for B1 level. Yeah. And again, we compare these 3 levels we've grouped together in this presentation. You see, for A1 level, you need about 800 words. For A2 level, 1,300 words, and for B1 level, 2,300 words. If you are interested or if you are teachers, you can check all words you use in your courses against the lexical meaning on Russian as a foreign language. You can find them on the internet, on our site, and in many other places, I think. Yeah. Okay, let's focus on writing subtest first. And you see, for A1 level, we've only got 1 task. And it lasts for 30 minutes. And what kind of letter, yeah, what kind of writing you are required to do? It's usually, well, normally an informal letter to a friend, parents, etc. And it contains 13-15 sentences and 4-5 questions. Now A2, we've got 2 tasks for this level, so 1 task more, and the test lasts for 50 minutes, quite a lot of time really, and we've got two tasks. The first one, it's an informal letter to a friend, parents, etc. It's like in A1 writing paper, but you are required to write more sentences and questions. It's 18 or 11 sentences and 5 questions. So your letter should be longer, quite longer. And task 2, we ask you to write a short note or phone message containing no more than 5 sentences. We'll look at the tasks later, of course. Now I'll give you the whole overview or impression of the writing subtests for these levels. And at B1, the same number of tasks, 2 tasks, but they're much more complicated, complex. In task 1, it's a bit difficult. You have a text, and first you read it. You have some time to prepare, to read it and prepare your task. And actually, you have to report the main content, topics of the text you've read, answering the questions given in the tasks, and expressing your point of view on the problem. So the task is complex. It consists of, well, 2 sections, 2 parts. First, you answer your questions given in the tasks, then you express your point of view on the problem. The second task is an informal letter to a friend, parents, and so on a topic given, and it must contain 20 phrases. All right. Let's take a look on the tasks in detail. Please look, it's writing subtest A1, task 1. And I've translated this, of course, yeah. In real life, online or offline, all tasks are in Russian, of course. But the language is not difficult. You can see it here. In this task, you have to write a letter to your parents. You've got a new friend. He's a doctor. You write a letter to your parents and tell them about your friend. What does it have to be in your letter? In your letter, you write about your friend's name, how old she is, what her job is, why she works as a doctor, where she works, her personality or character, what she does in her free time, how big his family or her family is, just some information about the family, and how often you spend time together. And what's important, you also, that's another part of this test, you have to write 4 or 5 questions. You ask your parents about their health, what they're doing now, or what they do, if they're going to visit you, when they're going to come. Well, so that's quite a strict plan, and if you keep to it, yeah, and you shouldn't miss anything, yeah, all the points, yeah, topic points must be in your writing subtest or writing paper. Well, that's it with subtest A1. There's only one task, you might remember this. And we move on to writing subtest A2, task 1. It's, as I told you, it's more or less the same, but the questions are more difficult, the language is more difficult, and you have to write more sentences, but the same amount of questions in your letter. You see, the task is you write a letter to your friend and tell them about Russian language courses you've recently finished. Or what do you have to write about? It's stated here. How long the course was, how often you had classes in a week, how many people there were in your group, how much the course cost, what you most like in the course, what you didn't like, if you would recommend the course to other students and why. You ask your friends about courses they have done, the cost of the courses, quality, duration, a number of students in a group, etc. So your letter must be a bit longer than at A1 subtest, and well, it would be a bit more difficult, I mean, in vocabulary and grammar context. The language is more difficult. Next, task 2. It's subtest A2, yeah, task 1. I think it's easy, yeah, but anyway, you have to pay attention. You write a phone message to your friend. What's important is to correctly understand the situation. Here I've translated it in English, but it can be quite confusing, yeah. And you say you have arranged a meeting with your friend at a definite time, but you cannot see them, I mean him or her, at that time, so you write a message and inform your friend that you'll be 10 or 15 minutes later. Ask them to wait for you in the place you have arranged about before. Your message must contain at least 5 sentences. 5 sentences is enough, really. You shouldn't write a lot in this task. When you have to write a letter, look, guys, in task 1, yeah, subtest A2, and in subtest A1, task 1, it's all about informal letters to friends, family members, parents, and so on, yeah. Well, what do you mean, Christina? Yeah, when we have to write a letter, we are not to go in to write anything today or to speak about, yeah, because, well, it'll take, yeah, a lot of time. Yeah, that's virtually impossible. You mean now? You're joking? Yeah, okay. I'm just informing you about the format and the task types. Well, look, now we are focusing on the writing subtest B1, task 1. It's a bit different from A1 and A2. And look at this. What do you think? Should I translate this or should I say this in Russian? Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. All right. Task 1, you have to read a story, a text. We invite you to travel. Yeah, it's a kind of an article from the internet or some internet resources, and After reading, look, it's just an abstract, little abstract. The text is actually quite big. It's quite long. Yeah, you can read it quickly and get an impression of what it's going to be. Here it's quite easy, but it can be quite difficult here. And before the test, you have these questions. They're very important. Yeah. What is tourism? Why do people like traveling? Where does the author of the text advise you to go if you want to know Russia? And finally, it's always the same. The final question in this task is about your opinion. Where would you like to go in Russia and why? So we want your point of view. We want you to express your point of view in the final question. That's always the same, yeah, in task 1. All right. Russian. Okay, now task 2. Yeah, but I have to do it in English. Okay. And you might remember that task 2 in this subtest, B1 writing subtest, I mean, you have to write an informal letter to a friend. And what's important is reading correctly, understanding correctly the situation. I'll translate it in English. Yesterday, it was a Saturday, and you decided to go shopping because you needed to buy something for you. Today, it's Sunday. You see, they want you to use past tenses. Well, at this level, today is Sunday, and you are writing a letter to your friend in which you want to tell him about your yesterday's shopping. In your letter, you should focus on the following topics or points of information. What were you going to buy? Which shops did you go to? Who did you go to the shops with? Yeah. Did you have an advice from someone where and what to buy? Sounds strange in English, but in Russian it's okay. Yeah. Did you have any problems with choosing what you wanted to buy? How did you like the service in the shops? Did you like your purchases? Did you like your shopping? Yes, no, why, and so on. The list here is not complete. Yeah, there could be more questions or points of information, and in your letter there must be at least 10 sentences. That's quite a lot. And later we'll talk about some practical ideas on writing. But now we're going to talk about assessment. How is writing? Me, yeah, I can speak in Russian, of course. That's my native mother language. Yeah, and look, that's important. I'm not sure if you are all students. I suppose some of you are teachers or instructors of foreign languages. Russian in particular. So, but this could be important for both categories of our listeners. Yeah. What are the criteria for writing assessment? That's important. First, it's content. It focuses on how well the candidate has fulfilled the task. In other words, if they have done what they were asked to do. That's very important. If it's not the case, it means what? It means you haven't completed the task. So what shall we check then? Yeah. Another thing is, another parameter is criteria communicative achievement. It focuses on how appropriate the writing is for the task and whether the candidate has used the appropriate register or style. Probably it's not very important for these levels, I mean style, because all letters are informal, but at higher levels, that's a crucial thing. Another parameter is organization of the text. It focuses on the way the candidate puts together the piece of writing. In other words, if it's logical and ordered, that's important too. And finally, it's language. Another criteria, it focuses on vocabulary and grammar. And this includes the range of language as well as how accurate it is. Do you understand, yeah, dear friends, colleagues, do you understand, is it clear for you all these criteria for writing assessment? That's important when you work with students or when you self-study for the exams, well, to have in your mind this criteria, yeah? And now, what does your writing have to be to perform well at B1 level? Well, and again, yeah, I'll go through criteria and what does your writing have to be to get a good mark, to have a good score? Look, content. All content must be relevant to the task, and target reader is fully informed. Communicative achievement. The candidate uses the conventions of the communicative task to hold the target reader's attention and communicate straightforward ideas. Organization. Text must be generally well organized and coherent, using a variety of linking words and cohesive devices. And language, your language, you should use a range of everyday vocabulary appropriately, with occasional inappropriate use of less common lexes. And you also use a range of simple and some complex grammatical forms with a good degree of controls. And your errors don't impede communication. So this, what I read to you, it's for writing, for very good, excellent writing. So if you comply to all of this, yeah, I've read now, your writing is excellent or very good. So what you're talking about, dear friends, yeah, this webinar is in English, yeah? Yeah, exactly, Armando, thank you. This webinar is for people of lower levels. That's why I'm explaining all this in English. And not everyone speaks better Russian. Yeah, of course. teachers who are teachers on these webinars. Yeah, Christina. Yeah, I'd better speak Russian, believe me, but but it's necessary to speak in English. Yeah, because there are a lot of visitors to this webinar who whose Russian is, well, not very good, and they should understand a lot of things about this. Yeah, and finally, let's talk about how you can improve your writing. These are some practical ideas, very good ones. Yeah, well, there are quite a lot of them. Yeah, I've chosen a list, well, quite a comprehensive list of some practical ideas to help you to do good writing. Well, and just a minute. Just a minute. First is the simplest thing. You should write as much as possible. Yeah. You write short messages, emails to friends, well, as a kind of play, maybe. You study with, I mean, friends and colleagues, and you encourage them write back to you, of course. What's very important, you have to learn skeletons or cliches for given information, describing, inviting, suggesting, thanking, apologizing, and reminding or writing. Actually, in the textbook for writing skills, there are a lot of such skeletons for different things, and learning them, practicing them is very important. And another good thing, you write personal letters, at least 20 phrases or more, so that you know what these number of phrases look like. Because it's a waste of time, of course. Yeah. Громко, да? There's some technical problems, yeah, with the computer. Sorry. I don't think anyone at the test has time to count all the words or sentences. So, well, it's a good idea to do this, to be quite sure, yeah, if the volume of your text or your letter is enough or not. Another idea, when you practice answering exam questions, try not to use the language that is in the question. You write this in your own words instead. That's an important skill. In English, they call it rephrasing, and it means that you can control quite a wide range of grammatical forms, different forms, and vocabulary. That's very important. And you might know or not, I'm not sure, that if you write off 3 sentences from the story you are given, that's quite a big mistake, and we destruct points. Next. Well, we just continue with the ideas for improving your writing. This one is important too. You practice writing with the same time limit as in the exam. Well, every day I check a lot of writing for different levels, and sometimes I feel quite unhappy, yeah, if the candidate does only 2 tasks, and the performance is quite good, but he or she didn't have enough time to do the final task, and well, the final score is usually unsatisfactory. So that's very important, to practice controlling your time during the exam, especially during writing. Well, another idea, you have to be very attentive to the task, and you make sure you write about all the questions in the task, as we've been talking about recently. Also, you make sure your writing is in logical order and that your sentences are connected to each other. That's absolutely crucial, and that is what writing at these levels usually lacks. Cohesion and logic. And you see, the examiners look at this when marking your writing, of course. And you always check your writing for spelling, grammar, and vocabulary mistakes. So that's, well, a routine procedure. We'll look at this when marking, as well as how clear your message is. That's sure, it is. And give yourself time to write, check, and edit your work. Well, that's not usually realistic, but for good candidates, for good students who can plan their activities, their performance, well, I think it's quite good. If you do change anything, that's important. If you do change anything in your writing, make sure your writing is easy to read. That's quite a common mistake. You just cross out a lot of things. You cross out, then you do something like this, and a piece of writing becomes just unreadable. That's a big problem. So please, if you do change anything, make sure that your writing's easy to read. And okay, that's not very important. Okay, if you're taking, or if you take offline exam, make sure you write your answer on the correct part of the answer sheet. Well, we can't control it online, of course. And if it's offline, you can make notes on paper, of course, during the exam, but at the end of the exam, you leave these notes on your desk. You can't, you are not allowed to take out anything from the exam room. So I've got questions, Yes, thank you, Anton Sergeyevich. Anton is our coordinator. You have to write it, not type. It can be different in other exams. For example, if you take a Cambridge English exam, computer-based, you can type on a keyboard your writing, but not in case of Russian as a foreign language exams. Okay, we are moving to speaking subtest now. Just let me some time to read your questions. Yes, Ahmed, you are right. The exam is proctored, so it's impossible to open any application. Yeah, you are absolutely right. Yeah, okay, I just continue. And let's focus on the speaking subtest for all these 3 levels. And you see, for A1 level, we have 3 tasks, and you need 25 minutes to do this test. And what sections are there in the test for A1 level? You see, task 1, you have to respond to the tester's replicas. Well, 5 phrases. In part 2, you initiate a dialogue according to situations given. And finally, you have to tell a story, a monologue on a given topic, 10, 12 phrases. And actually at A2 it's more or less the same, but the language is more difficult. The range of vocabulary is much wider, and the extent of your speaking contributions are much longer, but the topics are more or less the same. And the structure of the test is the same. You see, you have to respond to replicas. In task 1, you have to initiate a dialogue according to situations given, and finally it's a monologue on a given topic. Well, and you see, the equal amount of time is given for you at these 2 levels, A1 and A2. But at B1, it's quite different. Well, you see, we have 4 tasks in this test, and it lasts for quite a long time, 45 minutes. It doesn't mean you speak for 45 minutes. You usually have time to prepare things, yeah? And it's, as I can remember it quite clearly, you have 25 minutes to prepare task 3 and task 4 in this test. So it means that you speak for 20 minutes. And task 1 contains, and task 1 is responses to replicas. It's more or less the same with A2, but the language is more difficult, and the grammar is more complex, and so on. The task 2 is, again, more or less the same with A2 and A1. You initiate a dialogue according to situations given. And then what is very different from all these tests, it's reporting a text and then answering 2-3 questions after the texts. So, and you have 15 minutes to get prepared for reporting the text, and it's quite difficult sometimes, yeah. And finally, task 4, it's a monologue on a topic given, at least 20 phrases. It's more or less the same as in A1 and A2. Okay, let's move on. Let's have a look at the tasks. At level A1, task 1. Task 1, you take part in a conversation and answer the tester's replicas. Look at this, yeah, they're very, very simple at this level. Tell me, yeah, could you tell me what time it is now? Sorry, have you got a pen? What do you usually do in the evening? Could you tell me where the I forgot this word in English. Where the drugstore is, here, or over there, over here. Where you can learn Russian in your city or in the place you live in. So you see, quite simple things. But if you're a real A1 candidate or student, that's quite a big thing, yeah. Next, task 2. Well, you need to initiate a dialogue according to the situation given. Look at the situations. Oh, you don't have a pen. You haven't got a pen. Ask your neighbor, or ask a pen from your neighbor, and you initiate a conversation. So if you wanted to practice, you can do this now, yeah? So how would you do this? Colleagues, candidates, students? So you haven't got a pen, ask from your friend a pen. How would you do this? Initiate a dialogue, a conversation, if possible, yeah. If not, yeah, so we'll just move on. Someone's typing, yeah. Okay, I'm waiting for your typing, for your nothing. Another situation, yeah, duck. You come to a cafe, and you ask what you'd like to, yeah. So you again initiate a conversation. You invite your friend to go with you to a concert. So you see things like that. You haven't got a watch or a telephone. Yeah. You need to know the time. Ask someone. Yahya Adel, у вас есть ручка? Oh, that's interesting, yeah? Well, it's quite good, of course, yeah, but you might know that in Russian, we never use vas if you ask a pen or something from your neighbor, from your friend. So we'll deduct 0.5 points, yeah, from your answer at the exam. Actually, у тебя есть ручка would be better. Adel. У вас, sorry. Yeah, and finally, you are calling a doctor. Explain what's happened to you. Things like that. Now it's task 3 for A1 level. You need to tell a story here. Yeah, the topics might be different, of course, must be different actually, on how you spend your free time. And it's always a plan that is given to you, well, after the task. So you should follow it strictly. That's important. And how you spend your free time. Tell us about what you do in your free time, where you go in your free time, which activities are you in, what you like watching on the internet or TV, what you're interested in, do you have hobbies, things like that. Not very difficult, yeah? But don't forget, yeah, your story should contain at least 10 or 12 sentences in this task. That's important to comply with the volume of the text. Now, let's take a look at speaking subtest, level A, task 1, now level A. Look, yeah, the task is the same, yeah? Where are you from? Yeah, which city are you from? Yeah, and so on. What do you like cooking? What kind of cuisine do you like? Which country's cuisine do you like? Where would you like to live in the future? The grammar is more complex here, yeah? And there are more tenses used here, the future, the past, and so on. And the vocabulary is more various, but the structure is the same. Where would you like to live in the future? In a little or big town? Why? And there can be a lot of why questions at A2 level. Do you go in for sports? Why? What do you do? What do you usually do? Yes, on weekends, things like that. Giacomo, I don't know. Yeah. So we'll ask coordinator to check it. I can't check it really if the connection is poor or not. So this is task 1. Now task 2. Actually, as I told you, it's the same as task 2 in level A1 test, but the content is different, the topics are a bit different, and the language is more complex. Well, you should initiate a dialogue according to the situation given. I'll translate you some situations. You've recently moved house and meet the neighbors. So if you'd like to, you can type, how can you do this task? That's a bit complicated. Yeah. You've recently moved house and try to meet your neighbors. What would you say? Well, I'll just go on. Yeah. And if you want to, you can type in the chat box. Another situation, 7. You were 15 minutes late. Yeah, to meet your friend. Ask for an excuse and explain why you've been late. Yeah, you can write about this. So your task is to initiate a conversation. Well, what's important for that? The language is a bit more difficult here. So first you need to understand, yeah, the situation. And then, Giacomo, 6. Здравствуйте, я ваш новый сосед. Хотите ли познакомиться? Well, that's pretty good, but there's one little mistake. Li is not necessary. And you'd better say, я ваш новый сосед is very good, perfect, just perfect. Я бы хотел познакомиться. Или хотите познакомиться. Li is not good here, is not necessary, but it's not a big mistake, of course. Yeah, that's all right. And now 8, you want to go on holiday and to the south, we call it in Russian. Well, it's an idiom, yeah. Well, somewhere you can swim and sunbathe. And tell me, please, where would you like to go? Which hotel would you like to stay in? And how long would you like to stay there? You see, quite a big situation. So again, you should initiate a conversation. Maybe it can be quite long here in situation 8. And the testing specialist, of course, may answer your question and ask you another question, so the conversation may go on. It's not always your initiating replica and that's it, yeah? Especially at higher levels. And well, not finally, 9, your friend has birthday party today, or it's his birthday today. Phone him or just congratulate him or say, yeah, Mariam, very good. С днем рождения, желаю счастья и здоровья. That's good, yeah. And finally, your girlfriend doesn't know what to cook, what to prepare for lunch, for dinner. Give her a piece of advice on that point. Yeah, what kind of meal, yeah, to cook, something like that. What would you say about that, Miriam? Okay, if you want, you can type on the chat box. I move on. Well, now task 3. Well, it's very good, Victoria. Может, пиццу закажем? Yeah, that's really trendy today, but your girlfriend or boyfriend want to prepare something for you, cook something, well, special for you. Well, but that's possible, yeah? And, all right. Рекомендую готовить суп, потому что это удобная и дешевая еда. Well, look at this, yeah? That's interesting. And as a recommendation, it's quite, как тебе шаурма на ужин? It's much better. You see, yeah, Mariam, it should, your advice, your piece of advice should be in conversational form, like this. Как тебе шаурма на ужин? Может, пиццу закажем? And this is quite dry, yeah, for your friend, I think, yeah. So the etiquette is not very good here. Well, the content is okay, yeah, but there are some mistakes. Удобная, we can't use this word for food, yeah? Удобная, it's not good, it's a mistake, lexical, vocabulary mistake. Давай приготовим шашлык. Давай. All right. Thank you. Thank you. You've been good. Now, task 3. And you might remember it's a monologue on a given topic. Here, the topic is learning Russian as a foreign language or any foreign languages. And you've got a plan here. You use it when you prepare your story. And what are the questions? I'll quickly translate it into English. How long have you been studying Russian or any foreign language? Where did you study it? What helps you better learn new words? What kind of techniques or methods do you use? How do you work on your pronunciation? What kind of resources do you use? Books, the internet, and so on. How much time do you usually spend on learning languages? A day, a week, I don't know. Yeah, it depends on you, how you structure your answers. And what piece of advice can you give to students who would like to start learning Russian or any other foreign language? Well, and the list can be longer. Well, usually it's about 8 questions. It's a plan for you to follow during your talk. That's it. Адель, вы изучаете 10 лет русский язык и пришли на уровень А1. Okay. Yeah, you've been studying Russian for 10 years. Yeah. So this level is not for you, definitely. Where are you from, Adel? Now let's focus on the tasks in speaking subtest level B1. Again, yeah, tasks 1 and 2 are more or less the same as in A1 and A2 level tasks. Look at this, yeah. Again, you respond to your testing specialist replicas or questions. Well, I'll translate some of them, not all of them, yeah, because we're lacking of time, yeah. And, you know, I haven't seen your friend for long. Where's he now? What is he doing? So you see, the language becomes more difficult, and the vocabulary, the grammar too. So this is the only difference with other levels. Yes, Adel, you are right. Practice is the only way which help you to remember new words. That's right, yeah. Mariam, you've been learning Russian for 2 years. That's great. And another question. Tell me, please, what, how to get to the book house from here? Or how is it better? Is it best to go to get blah, 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 something like that, yeah. In Russian, it's good. In English, well, a bit weird. And you see, what's the weather like today in the place you're living? It's easy, of course. Well, they're different, yeah, actually. Tell me, please, how the shops in your city or in the place you live in work, or what are the opening and closing times in the shops in your city, and so on. Tell me, please, where you usually buy medicine. So you see, some questions can be quite simple, but it doesn't mean your answer should be as simple, yeah? Well, but some can be quite difficult. Yeah. Next. Task 2. Again, you initiate a dialogue according to the situation given. Well, I'll give you some situations and you try to start a conversation. Well, situation 6. Give advice to your friend which theater you could go at the weekend. Well, this situation can be a bit difficult for candidates who are not sure, very sure, what place is the theater. Yeah, that can happen. Yeah, not all people live in big cities. Yeah, with lots of theaters as St. Petersburg. So in this case, you just play. Yeah, and say something according to the situation. But you, of course, yeah, at this level, B1 level, you should know something about Russian culture, how people spend their free time. You know that Russian people like going to theaters, well, drama theaters, they like ballet, opera, and so on. Yeah. So you should know something at this level about Russian culture and the way we live. And another thing, another situation, you want to buy a ticket, a train ticket, and you come to the railway station. Explain what kind of ticket would you like to buy, which date, well, and many other things which are typical when someone wants to buy a train ticket at a railway station. What would you say? Adele, Mariam, I'm interested, yeah? If you want to buy a train ticket, again, at this level, you should learn something about Russian culture, something about everyday conventions in Russian life, so things like that. Otherwise, it would be difficult to initiate a conversation of this type. Well, and I'm moving on. Tuck. Well, now it's task 3. You see, it's something new, and it's the most difficult thing in this test. Here's the task. Yeah, I translated to you. You've read a funny story, and you want to share it with your friend. You read a story, and then you share the content of this story with your friend, but you need to compress your story, yeah? And what's important here, yeah, many things, that's quite a difficult task. You can read quickly, you have to find keywords, important, not important information, because the text is very long and you can't retell it, and you have only 15 minutes. So many difficult things about this. And there's an abstract from the story, and if you read it, you can see that vocabulary is difficult, grammar is difficult, quite difficult, of course, yeah? And after the story, you have questions to answer. For example, here, well, what's the story's name, actually? Yeah, it's a funny story. 10 fishermen and 1 big fish. And the questions after the text. How much does the fish, or did the fish, weigh? And who caught the fish? Well, next. And finally, well, it's a monologue on a given topic. Here, as you can see, you have to talk about your job, your profession. And here are the questions which can help you to talk about this. For example, are you studying or working right now? What kind of job do you have? Why did you choose this profession? What kind of exams do you have to do to study on this? To study for this profession? And how long do you have to do the course to get a diploma on this profession? Quite a boring thing, I think. Yeah. And yeah, the final one is good. Yeah. What qualities, what qualities do you have to work on in this profession? Well, actually, the list can be much longer. Well, it usually contains 8 or 9 questions and so on. Well, so far we've covered all speaking and writing subtests for these levels, and now just some words about the criteria for speaking assessment and what does your speaking have to be to get an excellent mark. Well, your speaking contribution must be adequate to communicative task, of course. It must comply with topic required. It must comply with specified volume of speaking contribution. I mean, well, 20 sentences, 10 or 12 sentences, things like that. Yeah. And all content points given in the task must be presented in your spoken or written product. You should be very accurate when presenting text information, both in writing and speaking contribution subtests. You must be accurate with specific information which is important in the text. Otherwise, it can be considered your speaking or writing as inaccurate. And literal copying of the text is penalized by distracting 3 points. That's quite a lot. So don't do this. And you can get also extra points in speaking and writing tests for using speech etiquette. Yeah. And for independent language use. What do they mean by that? They mean you can rephrase many things. You can be independent, in using. When you are independent, using your language, we usually give you extra points for that. And your pronunciation must be, should be intelligible, at least in general, and your stretches of language, they're different, of course, at different levels, but at B1 level, they should be quite extended. Well, let's take a look at this quickly. What does your speaking have to be to perform well at B1 level, for example? Let's look at it. That's interesting, guys. Grammar and vocabulary. What do you have to do? You have to show a good degree of control of simple grammatical forms, and you can attempt, or you should attempt, not can, some complex grammatical forms. And you should use a range of appropriate vocabulary to give and exchange views on familiar topics. And discourse management, you have to produce extended stretches of language despite some hesitation, and your contributions must be relevant despite some repetition or hesitation, and you should use a range of cohesive devices and discourse markers in your speaking contributions. Your pronunciation must be intelligible. Intonation is generally appropriate. Sentence and word stress is generally accurately placed, and individual sounds are articulated clearly generally. Well, and the quality of communication. You should initiate and respond appropriately. Well, as for tasks 1 and 2, and you must maintain and develop communication towards an outcome with very little support. Sometimes quite a lot of support is required at this level for weak candidates. Just believe me, I know, yeah. Well, but if you need very little support or no support at all, we consider it excellent, very good. Well, and some ideas, practical ideas, how to improve your speaking. Well, but the time is running out, dear colleagues, and yeah, quite a lot of very practical, good ideas, yeah, how to improve your speaking and get prepared for examinations on your own. And finally, we provide you with a number of resources for self-study or studying with a teacher. Yeah, look at them, but of course you can, there are sample tests for all levels, yeah, for B1 level in particular, course books, and well, just quite a lot of things here. You can look at them on our website, and as usual you can download this presentation from the website, I suppose, and or it will be sent to you by email. Well, so that's all for today, and if you've got questions, I can answer you, of course, yeah. Can we create WhatsApp group for students now? Yeah, you can. Why not? Okay, so dear friends, colleagues, candidates, thanks for your attention. And this Wednesday, we'll be talking about B2 level on a whole, and vocabulary and grammar, reading and listening in particular. So if you're interested, I'm inviting you. Thanks again. Yeah, thank you, Mariam. Stay healthy, guys. The times are difficult, yeah, now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And goodbye. Goodbye.